What do you do when the one person who should love you unconditionally is the one who hurts you the most? Junie had always been second to her sister Briar in her mother's eyes. After years of mistreatment, she hoped that the news of her pregnancy would finally change things, maybe even heal some old wounds. But when Junie shared the news, her mother's cruel words and violent actions shattered any hope she had. But Junie wasn't just going to take it. Stay tuned to see how she finds the strength to stand up for herself, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories. Why did it have to be you? The words hit me like a slap, sharp and cold, reverberating through the silent living room. My mother's gaze was fixed on my abdomen, her icy stare cutting through me. I could barely breathe. My name is Junie. I'm 25 years old, a housewife, and my sister, Briar, is 3 years older than me. She's always been Mother's favorite. Until today. Until the moment I came home to announce my pregnancy, I had hoped, just for once, that my relationship with Mother could improve. Maybe this, the birth of her first grandchild, could heal some of our old wounds. I came with my husband, Jasper, to my parents' house, hoping for a moment of warmth, of recognition. Briar was the first to greet us, as usual, with her cheerful smile. "Junie, it's been so long," she said, her voice light and welcoming. Father was away at work, but would be back soon. Mother's face was tight the moment she saw me. Her smile was a thin line, nothing like the one she gave Jasper. She put on a fake grin, her eyes flicking over to him as if she were suddenly concerned. "Oh my, I don't have anything prepared for your visit. Just wait a moment," she said, hustling to the kitchen. A moment later, she returned with homemade cookies, all sugar-laden. Mother knew I didn't like sweets, but when we'd announced our marriage, Jasper had mentioned his fondness for them. She'd remembered, and now she offered the cookies to him with exaggerated concern. "Oh, that's right, Junie doesn't like sweet things, does she? I'm sorry," she said, flashing him an overly polite smile. Jasper, ever the tactful one, responded, "Who I'm eating with matters more to me than what I'm eating." Mother simply nodded, her smile faltering slightly as she sat down on the couch. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. It was time. "We came today because we have something important to tell you," I began. Mother's eyes flickered for just a moment, an edge of curiosity, but I could see the unease there. I steadied myself. "Actually, I'm pregnant." The room fell into a heavy silence. Briar was the first to react, her face lighting up with a beaming smile. "Junie, congratulations," she said, her voice genuine. But as I turned to look at my mother, I saw her face grow darker with every passing second. Jasper stood up, stepping outside to take a work call. Briar headed into the kitchen to make tea. I was alone with her now. And that's when it came, Mother's voice trembling with suppressed fury. "Why did it have to be you?" Her words dug deep, and I couldn't help but feel my heart sink. Before I could answer, she went on. "The first grandchild should have been Briar's. Someone like you." Her voice trailed off, the disdain in her tone unmistakable. What happened next was completely unexpected. Without warning, Mother stood up, her eyes burning with anger, and kicked me hard in the stomach. Pain exploded through me, and I couldn't help but scream. The shock was so sudden, so brutal, I barely had time to react. "Mother, stop!" I heard Briar scream. She had returned from the kitchen and witnessed the assault. "Junie!" Jasper's voice cut through the air as he rushed inside, his face a mask of fury and concern. I was curled up on the floor, unable to move, the pain overwhelming. Briar immediately called for an ambulance, her voice shaking with fear. Jasper knelt by my side, supporting me, his grip tight around my hand. His eyes were locked on Mother, filled with rage. "Why are you making such a fuss?" Mother's voice was eerily calm, as if nothing had happened. She just bumped into the dresser herself. But Briar exploded. "Mom, I saw you! You kicked Junie in the stomach!" she shouted, her voice breaking with anger. The ambulance sirens grew louder, and I felt myself slipping in and out of consciousness. My hand was still in Jasper's, his voice a quiet, steady comfort. "It's okay. "I'm here with you," he whispered, his words grounding me. Briar was beside herself, still restraining Mother as she screamed, "What if something happens to the baby?" Her voice echoed in the chaos, desperation flooding her words as the paramedics arrived. As they lifted me onto the stretcher, I could feel Mother's cold stare. In those eyes, I saw concentrated all the hatred she had directed at me over the past 25 years. Briar accompanied me during the ambulance ride to the hospital. Holding my sister's hand, I thought that perhaps it was time to finally end my relationship with Mother. Jasper said he would follow in his car and saw us off in the ambulance. Briar apologized repeatedly. "I'm so sorry I never noticed." I realized I knew how much support my sister had been to me all these years. The ambulance continued its journey to the hospital, bathed in the glow of streetlights. Lying in the hospital bed, I recalled memories from my childhood. When did Mother start treating Briar and me so differently? I can't remember exactly when it began, but it seems like it was before I was old enough to understand. Mother was the local beauty queen and still maintains her beautiful appearance today. Briar looks just like her, and whenever neighbors would say, "You're Patricia's daughter, aren't you?" Mother would beam with pride. But I, who took after Father, was always Mother's disappointing daughter. I still vividly remember one Christmas morning when I was 8 and Briar was 11. Beautifully wrapped presents were arranged under the tree. When Briar opened her box, inside was a trendy brand name dress. Mother smiled and said, "It's perfect for Briar. She is my daughter after all." Then it was my turn. When I opened my box, inside were simple jeans and a t-shirt, probably bought on sale at Walmart. "These suit you better, Junie." At Mother's words, my young self could say nothing. It wasn't just clothes, even food portions were different. While Mother would urge Briar, "You can eat more, can't you?" Offering her homemade desserts, she would restrict my portions, saying, "Junie, if you want to maintain that figure, that should be enough, don't you think?" The gap widened even more during our teenage years. Briar was popular at school and became captain of the cheerleading squad. Mother attended every weekend game, proudly taking pictures of Briar. I joined the track team. Though my times were good, Mother never came to watch. "I'm busy," was always her excuse. Father would come sometimes and pat my head, saying, "You did well." But Father was busy with work and didn't seem to notice the complex family dynamics. In high school, I gradually began to realize that my situation wasn't normal. The turning point was a conversation with my best friend, Cadence. "Junie, your mother is just too cruel," she said one day. I looked at her in surprise. "What do you mean?" "Well, she buys designer clothes for Briar, but for you—" Cadence's voice trailed off. "My mother would never discriminate between her children like that." Those words made me understand for the first time that my family wasn't normal. At the same time, I knew Briar wasn't aware of my situation. My sister genuinely believed I preferred simple clothes. "Junie, you have such a good figure. You look good in anything," Briar would tell me sometimes. She would offer to lend me her clothes, but they rarely fit, so I couldn't wear them. Mother's discriminatory treatment became especially harsh when Briar or Father weren't around. When we were alone, she would attack me mercilessly. "To think I had to give birth to a child like you. Briar would have been enough. Why can't you be more like her?" Every time she threw such words at me, I felt like my very existence was being denied. But I knew crying would only invite harsher words, so I desperately held back my tears. My friends from school worried about me. On my 16th birthday, Cadence and the others secretly threw me a party. I didn't get anything from Mother, but the cute makeup set my friends had chosen for me remains a precious treasure to this day. Around that time, I made a decision. I was going to leave home. I was determined to become independent the moment I graduated from high school. Mother told me, "With just a high school diploma, you'll never amount to anything." But her words only solidified my resolve. Briar went to college, and Mother drained their savings to pay for her tuition. "It's worth it for Briar," Mother said proudly. Meanwhile, there was never any college fund set aside for me. But somehow, this blatant injustice only made me stronger. I maintained excellent grades in high school while working part-time at a local diner after school. Gradually, I built up my savings and made plans for the future, holding tight to the idea that I could escape the life Mother had set out for me. Now, lying in the hospital bed, those memories replay in my mind like a movie reel. The steady beeping of the monitor fills the quiet room. I'm relieved when the doctor assures me my little one is safe. I'm no longer that helpless girl from back then. I swear I'll never treat my child the way Mother treated me. The evening sky outside the window is turning red. On the second morning in the hospital, Jasper arrives early to visit. When I ask, "Is work okay?" he smiles and replies, "You're more important." I met Jasper 3 years after graduating high school, and I remember those days well. Right after high school, I left home. Mother sneered, "You'll be back soon enough," but I vowed never to return. Briar was busy with college and didn't seem to take my departure seriously. The beginning was tough. I continued my diner job while applying for clerical positions at major supermarket chains. Every time I mentioned that I only had a high school diploma, the interviewer's expression would cloud over, but I didn't give up. I interviewed at over 30 companies, each rejection pushing me harder to prove I was more than my limited education. The turning point came during an interview for a customer service position at an IT company. The HR manager said, "We value your experience and motivation more than your education." And that's how I got my first office job. It was there that I met Jasper, a systems engineer. Our first encounter was when he helped me with a printer problem. "You're always here from early morning until late," Jasper said one day. I answered honestly, "I want to learn as much as I can. For someone with just a high school diploma, this job is a precious opportunity." After that, Jasper began stopping by my desk from time to time. We talked over coffee during breaks, and before long, we started meeting on weekends too. As our relationship grew deeper, I gradually opened up to him about my family, my conflict with Mother, my relationship with Briar, and Father's indifference. When I shared everything, I feared he would distance himself from me, but Jasper was different. "No one has the right to deny your life," he said, holding me tightly. For the first time, I felt safe enough to cry. The proposal came in the winter of my second year at the company. After the company Christmas party, as we walked through the illuminated streets, Jasper got down on one knee. His simple, "Will you marry me?" left me no hesitation in answering with a resounding yes. I still vividly remember visiting home after 2 years to announce our engagement. Mother's initial response was cold. No decent man would want a daughter with just a high school education. But when she learned about Jasper's career, her attitude shifted dramatically. "Oh my, an engineer!" Mother suddenly became friendly, her behavior so insincere it made me uncomfortable. But Jasper remained calm and responded to her superficial attitude with sincerity. Briar was genuinely happy for me. "Junie, I'm so glad." She congratulated me with a bright smile and offered to help with the wedding preparations. Father also unusually expressed his opinion, saying, "He's a good young man." The wedding was small but heartwarming. Mother put on a smile for appearance's sake. She didn't forget to whisper in my ear at the reception, "I don't think this will work out." But I no longer had the capacity to be hurt by her words. Our new life gave me my first experience of the normal family. Jasper's parents welcomed me warmly, like their own daughter. My mother-in-law would always give me gentle advice when I was cooking. "Your dinners are really delicious," she would praise me with genuine words. Work was going well too. Using my customer service experience, I was even put in charge of training new employees. My high school education was no longer holding me back. About a year after marriage, I discovered I was pregnant. Jasper jumped for joy and immediately told his parents. My in-laws were overjoyed and quickly brought over baby item catalogs. However, I hesitated to tell my family. If Mother found out, I knew she would say something. Still, a small part of me hoped that the baby might change my relationship with her. That hope lingered in a corner of my heart. "I'll go with you," Jasper said. We contacted Briar beforehand and set the date. That day now feels like a nightmare. As I lie here in this hospital bed, the faint fragrance from the bouquet Jasper left in the hospital room drifts over. His words, "It's our turn now," touched my heart deeply. Regardless of Mother, I have my loving husband and our baby who will arrive soon. That's a happiness no one can take away. Ma'am, it's time for rounds. The nurse's voice brought me back to reality. As the monitor continued its quiet beeping, I let out a deep sigh. The choices ahead won't be easy, but there's no going back now. There's a small fracture in the bone, but fortunately, there's no effect on the fetus. Everyone in the hospital room breathed a sigh of relief at the doctor's words. Briar squeezed my hand tightly, and Jasper nodded deeply. However, the relief didn't last long. The door opened, and Father entered with Mother. "Junie!" There was clear distress in Father's voice. "Briar called us." "Is it true?" "Did you?" Mother maintained her usual attitude, starting to make excuses. "Oh, what are you talking about? Junie just bumped into the dresser herself." But Briar stood up. "That's enough!" My sister's voice echoed through the hospital room. "I saw it! I saw you kick Junie in the stomach, Mom!" The color drained from Father's face. "It can't be!" At that moment, there was an unexpected visitor, the hospital social worker. "May I speak with you?" Though the tone was gentle, there was strong determination in those eyes. Mother suddenly broke down crying. "I'm being made the villain! Everyone's ganging up on me!" However, no one was moved by Mother's performance. The social worker calmly but firmly sorted out the situation. "This is clearly a case of violence. Considering the victim is pregnant, it will be treated as a more serious matter." Mother's expression froze at those words. "I can report this to the police," the social worker continued. "However, if you'd like time to discuss this as a family," Briar spoke up. "Junie, let's tell everything now." I took a deep breath. Yes, there's no need to hide anymore. It was time to talk about all the mistreatment I had endured from Mother over the past 25 years. "Dad," I began with a trembling voice, "I've been enduring this all along." And I started talking. The discriminatory treatment since childhood, the days of being looked down upon, the countless heartless words. How Mother would play the loving mother when she was with Briar, but completely change when alone with me. "Junie," Father's voice was shaking. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "I couldn't." I wiped my tears. "Mom always acted like a good mother in front of you and Briar. I thought no one would believe me." Briar covered her face with both hands. "I'm so sorry, Junie." "I never noticed." At this point, Mother suddenly stood up and screamed, "Is it my fault? It's because she was ugly and useless. Briar was beautiful and excellent like me, but she—" Father's voice cut off Mother's screams. It was the first time I'd heard my usually mild-mannered father use such a tone. "You are unfit to be a mother, Patricia." Father's words were heavy. "I won't let you hurt Junie anymore." The social worker quietly began speaking. "In this situation, I recommend applying for a restraining order. Also, counseling." Mother suddenly lunged at my bed. "You ungrateful child!" Jasper and Father quickly restrained Mother. Nurses rushed in, and the hospital room was temporarily in chaos. That evening, Father announced his decision to divorce Mother. "Junie, I'm so sorry. I should have noticed." The police began investigating Mother, and a restraining order was issued. Mother went to stay with relatives, but she continued sending persistent messages, saying she would never forgive me. Briar visited my hospital room every day. This time, I'll properly watch over Marion's new life. During my hospital stay, Jasper's parents visited frequently. My mother-in-law would bring homemade soup and say, "You're our precious daughter." On the day of my discharge, my doctor placed a hand on my belly and said, "The baby is healthy. They'll surely grow up to be strong." As we left the hospital, the soft spring sunlight enveloped us. Jasper pushed my wheelchair with Briar and Father walking on either side. That's when I first realized this was my new family formation. Mother was gone, but for the first time, I felt the true warmth of family. Before getting into the car, Father hugged me. "From now on, let's live as true parent and child." I nodded. The long winter was over, and a new season was beginning. "Junie, just one more push!" I gathered all my strength at the doctor's voice echoing through the delivery room. After 16 hours of labor, our child was finally about to be born. "I can see the baby's head." Jasper squeezed my hand tightly. Briar was crying while rubbing my back. Then a strong cry filled the room. "It's a girl! She's a very healthy baby!" Tears welled up in my eyes as the nurse showed me this tiny life, her small red face, her tightly clenched fists. "Willow," I whispered. It was the name Jasper and I had chosen earlier. Father was the first to see the baby in the waiting room. "She looks just like you did when you were born," he said, his voice trembling with tears. 3 months have passed since that moment. The last contact I had with Mother was a voice message she sent while I was in the hospital. "I'll never forgive you. You made me lose everything." I heard she moved to another state after that. I probably won't see her again. Still, sometimes when I wake up in the middle of the night, I think about her, not with hatred or anger, but as a woman who somehow lost her way, who lost her ability to love. "Junie, I think Willow's awake. It's feeding time." Briar brought the baby to me, her smile soft and warm. My sister had moved into an apartment nearby and visits almost every day. "Hey, Junie," she said gently. "Willow has the same colored eyes as you." Indeed, Willow's eyes are brown like mine, but her smile is all jasper. Father recently decided to take early retirement. His reason? "I want to watch my granddaughter grow up." He comes every weekend to check on Willow, holding her for hours, his pride in her evident. "Junie," Father said one day, his expression serious. "You've done so well. You've become a wonderful mother." Those words, simple and sincere, brought tears to my eyes, words of approval I had longed for all these years. They had a warmth that seemed to heal all the past wounds, replacing them with something new: acceptance, love, a quiet peace. Jasper's parents treat Willow as their own. My mother-in-law knitted her handmade baby clothes. "You and Willow are our precious family," she said with a smile, and I felt something shift inside me, a connection I had never expected. Parenting hasn't been easy. There are nights when we can't sleep because of her cries, days when we worry about her health. But someone is always there to help, always ready to offer support. "If you ever need anything, just let me know," Briar says, and there's no pretense in her words now. No more distance, no more walls between us. I've started attending a support group too, meeting other mothers who have complicated family relationships. We share our stories, listen, and encourage one another. It was there I learned that I'm not alone, that others understand the weight of my experience, the complexity of loving despite the past, and healing together, piece by piece. With everyone's support, I've become stronger. At a recent meeting, I shared my experience for the first time. On the day Willow turned 6 months old, we celebrated. Father, Briar, Jasper's parents, and close friends gathered. The room was filled with laughter, warmth, and smiles, a sense of community I hadn't known I could have. "Hey, Jasper," I whispered as I gazed at Willow's peaceful face, illuminated by the soft glow of the setting sun through the window. Briar and Father were chatting happily, while my in-laws were taking pictures. "Are you happy?" I asked him, the question more weighty than it seemed. "Yes," he smiled, "very." I knew then that I wouldn't let any dark shadows fall on this child's life. I wouldn't repeat the mistakes Mother made. I would give Willow unconditional love, the kind of love that didn't come with conditions or resentment. As I made this vow to myself, Willow reached out her tiny hand toward me. The gesture, so simple, seemed to say, "It's okay. A new morning is about to begin." Maybe this is where our real story begins. Outside the window, the spring breeze swayed the trees gently, as if the world itself were quietly welcoming us to the new chapter ahead. What do you do when the one person who should love you the most, the one who gave you life, is the one who hurts you the most? For Junie, it took years to realize that the pain she'd suffered at the hands of her mother wasn't just a normal family dynamic, it was emotional abuse. Junie spent her life being overshadowed by her beautiful, perfect sister, Briar. From childhood to adulthood, her mother made it clear that Junie would never be good enough. She wasn't the right daughter. Her looks didn't match her mother's ideal, and her achievements were always ignored. But when Junie announced her pregnancy, hoping that it would be the thing to bridge the gap, her mother's cruelty reached new heights. A brutal kick to her stomach made it undeniable her mother would never change. But in that moment, Junie realized something powerful. She wasn't that helpless girl anymore. With the support of Jasper and her sister, Junie made a decision that would change everything. She would no longer let her mother control her life. The truth was finally out, and the family's facade began to crumble. Junie's father, once blind to the abuse, finally saw the reality of the situation and took action. This was Junie's turning point. She had a husband who supported her, a child on the way, and a newfound strength that came from facing the truth. While her mother's behavior could never be justified, Junie now had the chance to build the family she deserved, one filled with love and respect. So, what about you? Have you ever had to stand up to someone who was supposed to love you but only caused you pain? How did you handle it? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you connected with Junie's story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.